So I thought I'd share how I learned to understand complex concepts faster and more consistently. I think that the emphasis here is on the last aspect. It was my goal to be able to understand concepts more easily because I was struggling with it. When I first started at university in my mid-20s, I was overwhelmed with having to juggle the responsibilities of life and a full-time job while still getting in some recreation and studying a double major. I knew I was going in at a disadvantage. I was an adult learner and I had far less time for studies than someone just out of school. I was working a full-time job. I still had the responsibilities of day-to-day life, and I still wanted to do the things that one wants to do in one's 20s, and watch some bloody Netflix at night to relax. And so this led me to panic that I wouldn't get all my study material in time for exams. And so basically I just crammed everything. I didn't process much. I just read it. If I read it once, it was good enough. I put information on flashcards and haphazardly studied those. And basically was only able to recite information by rote instead of be able to synthesize it when it came time to write essay type questions. And this led to a feeling of guilt and confusion. A lot of guilt because I was paying money and making sacrifices in order to gain understanding. I wasn't just going to university to get a degree, and I felt like I was wasting it. I was wasting all that time and wasting all that money, and so I knew something had to change. So I did what any human would do in my situation, and I went to Google and I searched how to study, and I was met with a lot of crap, but one idea in particular did stand out, and that was the idea of using analogies, right? And so I applied it and it worked, but the problem was my ability to apply it was inconsistent and it produced inconsistent learning. And so I almost defaulted back to using flashcards, but I was lucky enough to have stumbled across the solution. I was studying personality theories in psychology, and I realized while studying psychoanalysis that if I broke the theory down into various parts and I tried to relate those parts, that once I had that information, I had an anchor that I could then use to find similarities with something else I already knew and basically scaffold the rest of the learning. So what I learned about analogies are that analogies are not just similar ideas, but they're similar structures. And a structure is a set of parts, nodes, basically, with relationships. And so if I can get that information down first, I know that the rest is taken care of. I feel like the meta lesson here is not only about analogies and not only about one's willingness to learn, but one's ability to push through frustration and use that frustration as fuel to solve the problems that you have. Because there are going to be times where one learning method no longer works for you and you have to learn something else, and maybe there is no available information that someone can give you that's not in a book, that's not on ChatGPT. And so it's about becoming a better self-learner and not giving up, making sure that you're persistent, and you will find immense value.